Hello friends, welcome back. In the last lecture we have seen some of the properties of fluid, that is bulk modulus, relation of bulk modulus with compressibility. Then we have seen the surface tension and some of the terminologies before we understood the concept of surface tension, that is the cohesive force, adhesive force, the molecular range, the intermolecular force of attraction, the sphere of influence. And at the last lecture itself I had given one idea about the excess pressure, the concept of excess pressure. While we are dealing with day-to-day life, we come across the liquid droplet, some air bubble into the liquid, or some soap bubble, or the liquid jets. So over there, into all these geometries of liquids, the pressure inside these geometries is little more than that of the pressure outside it. Now how it is and up to what extent, how much is the magnitude, that we are going to see into this lecture, and after that we will see the concept of capillarity and how does the capillarity action lift up the liquid or say depresses the liquid below than that of the regular liquid level, right. So let us start up with the revision of the concept of surface tension of liquid. Now we have seen that the surface tension represented by sigma is nothing but sigma is equals to, it is the tangential force acting per unit length of that line expressed in terms of Newton per meter. So that's what the surface tension is. Now due to this concept of surface tension, how does the excess pressure is created inside the liquid droplet, that we will see. After the surface tension, due to the concept of surface tension, we have seen that every liquid surface, not every liquid surface, the free liquid surface. Yesterday I highlighted what is free liquid surface. If I take down a glass, a cylindrical vessel, and some liquid is kept inside it, so up to certain height. Now this liquid over here has certain height h over here. Now if I look at the liquid only, see this is the vessel, apart from that vessel wherever the liquid is, that liquid has certain surfaces. Which are the surfaces? I would like to highlight these surfaces as, first of all, the top surface, this is the top surface, this lateral curved surface, this is lateral surface, and at the bottom over here you are having one more circular surface. I will name it as the bottom surface. So out of this, the lateral curved surface is in contact with the solid vessel. The bottom surface of the water or say liquid is in contact with again the solid surface, whatever the vessel is, whereas the top surface of the liquid is in not contact with the solid but in contact with the gases. What are the gases present over here? In case if it is open to the atmosphere, then here you will be the atmospheric air. So this interface of water, on one side there is water and on another side there is air or any of the gas. So such an interface, wherever the liquid is exposed to the gaseous state or say the gases, that surface we say it as the free liquid surface. This is free liquid surface. And the concept of surface tension or whatever the phenomena that they are taking place into the nature, they are existing only on the free liquid surface, not on the surface which are in contact with the solid boundaries, like this lateral surface or say this bottom surface. Over there the role of surface tension is, there is no role of surface tension at this lateral surface and the bottom surface. The major role is at the free liquid surface, wherever the liquid surface is exposed to the gases, right. Now we will see the first case, how does the excess pressure is built up in a liquid droplet. The term excess pressure Number one, in liquid droplet. in liquid droplet. Now, if I take down a liquid droplet, say a spherical liquid droplet like this, in the last lecture we have seen every free liquid surface behaves as like a stretched membrane. Like in the last lecture I had given you the example of a balloon with pressurized air inside it. Every particle on the surface, that membrane of balloon, is stretched, and that is stretched and pulled in the tangential direction in all along its surface, right? So in the similar manner, every free liquid surface behaves like a stretched membrane. So if I take down any of the molecule onto the surface, the outer surface of that spherical droplet, so every molecule is under the stress, and that is get pulled on every side, right? Now if just imagine that I have cut down that particular liquid droplet with a fine blade and separated out these two hemispheres. Whatever the two hemispheres produced, I have separated it out. Physically it's not easy to do that, but just imagine we are doing so. So if it is so, we will be having two hemispheres, and one hemisphere may be somewhere over here. This is one hemisphere, and another hemisphere will be somewhere over here. I repeat again, imagine that you are having a spherical droplet over here, and that spherical droplet we have divided it into two parts, two hemispheres, and we are trying to separate them out away from each other. In that case, what happens is the molecules which are in contact, see before we cut down this hemisphere, this sphere in two parts, here are the molecules which are there along the cutting plane. So the moment when the molecules over here along these cutting planes are get separated, molecules I am talking about the molecule only on the surface of the sphere, not the molecules inside it. So these molecules, while they are get separated out, they will exert, or say they will experience a tangential force in the perpendicular direction towards this hemisphere. Same is the case over here. This molecule also experiences a tangential force over here. This molecule also experiences a tangential force in that direction. And every molecule over here will experience a tangential force in the direction of another hemisphere, and so on. Whereas the molecules over here of this hemisphere will also experience a tangential force, and that will be in this direction. They are not ready to leave one another. So this is the case. Now if you check out the magnitude of these forces, how much is the force over here? This force is basically the force due to the surface tension, and we have seen in the last lecture the force due to the surface tension, or say the term surface tension itself is nothing but sigma is equals to, it is the force per unit length, where sigma is the surface tension, F is the tangential force acting onto the line, onto the free liquid surface, and L is the length on which, or say the length which we have considered for our study. So this force F is due to the force due to the surface tension, and can be written as this F as equals to sigma into the length L. Now how much is the force acting over here? The force over here, how much is this force? I will say that force F is also equals to, that force F is equals to sigma into L, whereas sigma will be the surface tension of this liquid. Whatever the liquid is, sigma will be the surface tension of that liquid. The magnitude of the surface tension differs from liquid to liquid. So whatever the liquid we have taken, sigma is belonging to the surface tension of that particular liquid. Whereas the length L over here is, the length L over here is nothing but the length of this periphery. Now if I consider the radius of this sphere as r, say small r is the radius of the sphere, so same will be the radius over here, and I think this entire length of this periphery is nothing but what? The circumference of this circle. circle, that too we have divided this hemisphere into two parts. So circumference of that circle will be equals to, straight forward it will be 2 pi r. So the effective length on which the force due to the surface tension is acting is equals to 2 pi r. So this length over here will be equals to 2 pi r. So the force due to the surface tension will be equals to sigma into the effective length L is 2 pi r. Say this is equation number 1. Next, we know the formula for the pressure. In general, pressure P is equals to force per unit area. Now, the force which is acting onto the peripheral molecules, and that force is trying to keep these two hemispheres together, stuck together. That force F will not allow these two hemispheres to get separated. See, what I have explained is, I told you to cut down this hemisphere into two equal parts, but actually physically we are not doing so. The molecule, or say the liquid droplet, is there as it is in the form of a sphere. Now, even if you do not separate these two parts, even in complete spherical form, the molecules over here on the if I take down an imaginary plane, cutting down that hemisphere into that sphere into two equal parts, and wherever the cutting plane is going to intersect the surface of the outer surface of that sphere, and if you imagine the molecules onto that surface, you will find all these molecules are pulling one another in the tangential direction, binding these two hemispheres together, and that force is acting, and that force results into pressing down these two molecules such that the entire volume close together, and that force is acting onto the surface area. This much is the surface area, and hence the excess pressure created over here into the inner region of the droplet will be equals to the force due to the surface tension divided by the area, and I think this area is nothing but pi r square. So the force due to the surface tension F is equals to, it is sigma into 2 pi r whole divided by pi r square. So what pressure I am getting over here is, this pi will be get cancelled, this r and this r will be cancelled, so it will be twice of sigma divided by r. So if I replace this r is replaced by, can be replaced by d by 2, so in that case it will be 4 sigma by d, and that's what the excess pressure is. I'd like to write down this as equals to P excess. This is the excess pressure. Remember that this pressure is more than the surrounding pressure. I mean, surrounding pressure, if it is surrounding pressure is say 100 Pascal, say atmospheric pressure. So surrounding pressure is the atmospheric pressure, and the pressure, magnitude of pressure we are getting it over here is equals to 2 sigma divided by r. So in that case the absolute pressure over here will be equals to atmospheric pressure plus this pressure. Now one thing is clear, the excess pressure into the liquid droplet is directly proportional to sigma, that is the surface tension of the liquid. More is the surface tension, more will be the excess pressure. Also, the excess pressure is inversely proportional to the radius of that droplet. It means that more is the radius of the droplet, less will be the pressure. Less is the radius, higher will be the pressure. So that's what the relation and the formula for the excess pressure inside the liquid droplet. So let's move ahead for the next geometry of liquid, that is bubble. Now for air bubble or say any of the gas bubble, I would like to give you one example, real life example of that. Say this is some liquid. You might have seen some air bubble or say the gas bubble inside the liquid. If you take down some cold drink, select cold drink into the glass, take down the cold drink and pour it into the glass from the bottle, and after few times, say a few seconds, you will find into the glass, this is the glass, this is the level of liquid inside it, and that too the chilled one. Into the glass you might have seen some of the liquid droplets over here. Some droplets are formed over here on the in contact with the solid surface, even at the bottom surface. So we are talking about that kind of droplet, or say that kind of bubble. These are what the air bubbles. Or say even if you look at the river or the lake, where there may be the plants at the base of the river that is underwater, and during photosynthesis process some of the gases bubbles are get created over there, and these gas bubbles stuck up with the leaves, and after some time if the size is more and more, then they are get detached from the leaves and will start to move up. So inside such a gases bubble, the air bubble, the pressure inside these bubbles is little higher than that of the pressure outside it. Now how it is and how much is the magnitude, that we will see. Now surprisingly, the pressure, excess pressure inside the air bubble or the gas bubble is same as that of the excess pressure inside the liquid droplet. Perhaps the entire derivation you can copy as it is, no change in it. The only difference is in earlier case, the liquid droplet, here was the liquid, the inner part of the sphere was liquid and outer part was of air or the gas. Now in this case, in case of bubble, here it will be air or say the gas or any gas inside it, and outside the sphere it will be liquid. It will be liquid. Now apply the same concept. Imagine that you are going to separate out that sphere into two equal parts. So while doing so, the molecules onto the periphery will be in contact with each other, and they will be under the influence of the tangential force, and that force is due to the concept of the surface tension, and the magnitude of that force is given by this formula. Sigma is equal to force due to the surface tension divided by the effective length. So the force due to the surface tension is equal to sigma into L, where L, effective length L, is nothing but what? The periphery of this particular circle, and that is nothing but the circumference of the circle, and that circumference is equals to, it's 2 pi r. Now the force acting onto the surface, onto the periphery, is equals to sigma into 2 pi r, and on how much area that force is acting? This much is the shaded area on which the force due to the surface tension is acting. And how much is this area? This area is equal to pi r square. So you will get the the pressure, excess pressure is equal to 2 sigma by r or 4 sigma by d. Remember, this is the excess pressure, not the regular pressure. That is the pressure, the higher pressure than that of the surrounding pressure. And obviously these two relations are also applicable for this case also. Now we will go for the next one, the soap bubble. The soap bubble. There exists some excess pressure inside a soap bubble. You know what is soap bubble? Now, soap bubble, you know, at some public places like in gardens, you might have seen some kids playing with some liquid, a ring. When they put down that ring into the soap bubble and blow some air, the bubbles are get formed, and these bubbles are basically made up of a thin film of soap solution, where the inner region of the soap bubble, over here it is the air, and at the outer region also it is the air. And we know the force due to the surface tension exists only along the free liquid surface, and over here there are two free liquid surfaces. Now however fine, but the liquid, the film solution will have certain thickness. If I can show the thickness it over here, the thickness of that soap film, if it is over here, it's clear that thickness is very small, very fine, maybe in terms of some nanometer, or say I don't know the range, exact range, but finally it will have certain thickness. So the soap, this is the soap film, means this region is of liquid. This region is of liquid. This region, the inner region of the sphere, here it is air. The outer region of the sphere, here it is air. So, for this liquid film, there are two free liquid surfaces. One free liquid surface is over here, the outer surface, and one free liquid surface is over here, that is inner surface. So, the force due to the surface tension exists on the outer surface as well as on the inner surface. So, the force is multiplied, it is double. Now, let us see how much is the excess pressure inside a soap bubble. The excess pressure inside a soap bubble, following the same concept. Now consider a soap bubble over here. Consider a soap bubble, a spherical in shape. And imagine that we are going to cut down it along a cutting plane which is passing through the center point of that spherical soap bubble. After cutting down that into two parts, we will get two hemispheres like this. Two hemispheres like this. Now out of which one hemisphere I have shown it over here, and the second hemisphere will be over here. Now in the previous case of liquid droplet, or say the air bubble, we have seen there were some forces acting onto this, on the molecule of this periphery over here, somewhere over here. But let me highlight you that this is not a liquid droplet, this is a soap bubble. So soap bubble has air outside it, here it is air, and it has air inside it. So if I consider a fine thickness of that soap film, I'll be having, if I show the thickness of that soap film something like this, then this is the thickness. So the free liquid surface is existing on the outer surface as well as it is existing on the inner surface. So the force due to the surface tension will act onto the outer periphery. If you can see, I can clearly separate out these two layers. And the force due to the surface tension acts onto the inner periphery also. It acts onto the inner periphery also. So now if I try to get that force, we know the force due to the surface tension, this sigma is equals to force per unit length, hence I can write down the force due to the surface tension F is equals to sigma into L, and here what is this L? This F is equals to sigma into the length over here is, first of all, the inner circumference, that is 2 pi r. This is 2 pi r plus the length onto the outer periphery, that is also 2 pi r, very close to each other since the thickness of that film is negligibly small. And now what I will be getting for the force, the formula of force is, it is 2 pi r plus 2 pi r will be 4 pi r. So sigma into 4 pi r. Now how much is the pressure? Excess pressure P is equals to, it is the force per unit area. So force, the magnitude of force we are having over here, that is sigma into 4 pi r whole divided by the area on which it is acting. The area, this is the area on which the force due to the surface tension is acting. Actually that force is acting onto the liquid membrane, but finally that force is transmitted to the inner region, inner gas. So that area over here is pi r square. So what formula I'll be having, that is for the excess pressure inside the soap bubble. This pi and r and 1 of r will be get cancelled, so it will be 4 sigma by r, or the same formula I can write down in terms of the diameter of the droplet, the bubble, that will be, it will be d by 2, so it will be 8 sigma divided by d, and that is what the excess pressure is. That is what the excess pressure inside a soap bubble. And if you remember, the excess pressure inside a liquid droplet was equals to 2 sigma by r or 4 sigma by d. You can see that For soap bubble, the excess pressure is directly double than that of the liquid droplet or say the air bubble. This is due to the reason the soap bubble has two free liquid surfaces for the same area of the same droplet. So let's go ahead for the next one. The next one is the liquid jet of infinite length. This is the number 4. First one was the liquid droplet, second air bubble, third soap bubble, the fourth is liquid jet. The excess pressure inside the liquid jet. Now consider that there is a jet of liquid coming out of a pipe over here, and that jet of liquid is going straight, straight or say inclined, doesn't matter. So this has somewhat radius r or say the diameter d. Now in this case also, this is, see, while you are into the garden or say you are taking down a pipe, a small pipe of the diameter maybe 1, 2, 3 inch, and if you are holding the pipe, this is the terminal point of the point, and that pipe is connected to some pump, and that pump is continuously delivering water. So the water will keep on coming out of that pipe. Now while the water was flowing through the pipe, this is the pipe region of pipe, while the water was flowing through the pipe, here that water was totally surrounded by the pipe surface. So the water was in contact with the pipe, inner surface of the pipe, and there was no contact of water droplet with the surrounding air. But the moment that water comes out of the pipe, suddenly that water droplets will come in contact with the air molecule over here, that is the gaseous molecule. And this lateral surface of water, the curved surface, the cylindrical lateral surface of the water will become the free liquid surface, and the moment when it becomes the free liquid surface, the force due to the surface tension starts to act onto that surface, and due to that force the pressure inside it is again little higher than that of the surrounding pressure, and by how much amount, that we will see. Now consider this is a cylindrical jet, and just imagine that you have cut down that cylindrical jet into two parts, in the horizontal plane, along the horizontal plane. So one of the plane will be, one of the semi-cylinder will be something like this. This is one of the cylinder, semi-cylinder. And remember, this is infinitely long. From this side, this side that is long, and this side also it is long enough. Now in this case, this will be the lower semi-cylinder, and there will be one more upper semi-cylinder. Imagine that you are going to separate it out, but while you are separate it out, the force due to the surface tension will act along these lines in the direction tangential to the curved surface. The same one over here, same one over here. Over here. Consider the length of this jet we have taken into the consideration is length L, and the diameter of this pipe, or the diameter of this jet, is diameter D. Then I would like to go for the formula of surface tension. Sigma is equals to force due to the surface tension per unit length. Hence from this I can write down force due to the surface tension is equal to sigma into L. Now sigma is the surface tension of this liquid jet, where length L is the effective length on which the force due to the surface tension is acting, and that length is, I think here is the one length on which the force due to the surface tension is acting, here is another length on which the force due to the surface tension is acting, and that length is L plus L, that will be equal to 2L. So this is sigma into twice of L, that will be the force. Remember that this length will not contribute into the force due to the surface tension, since we have already considered this jet is infinitely long, so that jet is continued. So if that jet is connected to another jet ahead, so this line is not exposed to the atmospheric air, so it is no more a free liquid, it is no more a part of free liquid surface. Only the curved lateral curved surface is the part of free liquid surface, and that too along this line. So this length we have not considered. Now that's what the force. Now on what area that force is acting? The area on which that force is acting is over here. This is the area, and that area is equals to length of that rectangle into the weight, that will be d. So the excess pressure over here is sigma into twice of L divided by the area on which it is acting, it's L into the term d. So this is equals to, L will be get cancelled from numerator and denominator, twice of sigma by d. So the excess pressure P is equals to, it is twice of sigma by d. So d, it can be expressed as twice of r. So this is equals to, this will be equals to sigma divided by the term r. So that is the formula for the excess pressure inside a liquid jet. Now if you observe this carefully, that consider you are there into the garden and providing water to the plants over there with the aid of the pipe, and the water is coming out of it. Water is coming out of that pipe. If you observe it carefully, this is say the pipe, this is the end of the pipe, and here onwards the water is coming out. I would like to show you the thickness of the pipe also. So this is the thickness of the pipe. Now when water is coming out of it, if you follow the continuity equation and if you apply all the laws of physics, you will say that whatever the diameter of the liquid jet inside the pipe is, same should be the diameter of the water jet outside the pipe. There is no reason to change up that diameter, to change up the size of the jet. But this is not the case. If you observe that water flow pattern carefully, you will find the moment when the water comes out of the pipe, the jet diameter reduces little bit, and it goes like this. This is the phenomena, and next time whenever you go for the watering to the plants into the garden, you observe this phenomena. The moment when the water jet comes out of the pipe, it shrinks little bit in the diameter. Now that physical phenomena is taking place due to the reason of concept of surface tension, right? And like that, there are a lot of examples in day-to-day life. The only thing which is necessary is the keen observation. Now let us go for the next fluid property, that is the angle of contact. The angle of contact. If I take down some liquid into the vessel, say a vessel like this, obviously the free liquid surface of the liquid will be absolutely flat and horizontal and will be perpendicular to the direction of acceleration due to gravity at that place. But if you observe it carefully at microscopic level, you will find that this surface over here is exactly horizontal, no doubt about that. But the surface of this free liquid surface close to the solid boundary of the vessel is no more horizontal and no more straight. It is curved, and that curved pattern is over here. Same is the thing over this side also. Not simply over this side, but over the entire periphery of that particular vessel. Consider this vessel is made up of glass material of certain thickness. This is the glass material of certain thickness. The liquid inside it will be absolutely flat at the free liquid surface, but not at the ends wherever that liquid is going to meet the solid surface. At the solid surface, either it will goes up, following a curved path, and will tries to rise on the walls of the container, or in some cases it may tries to go down in the downward direction. It may also happen that for some of the liquids it may have somewhat depression like this. It depends upon the material to material. For this material and this liquid material I am talking about, whether the water is going to climb up the wall of the container or climb down the wall of the container, it depends upon what material these two are having, the vessel and the liquid. Now let us assume the liquid into the container is going to rise up. I would like to redraw the figure. So this is the wall of the container, and this is the liquid over here. This is the liquid. Now this liquid is exactly flat, horizontal at the free liquid surface, but if you go close to the wall of the container over here, you will find the liquid over here is climbing up the wall and taking down this particular shape, say maybe something like this, taking down this particular shape. So after this shape, if once it takes down that shape, this curvature, somewhere it is going to meet the solid surface, say over here. That is the point of contact of liquids and solid surface, and that too at the free liquid surface. Whereas there are a lot of point of contact of liquid and solid over here, here. Everywhere liquid is in contact with the solid. But at the free liquid surface means that point is over here. Now if I draw the tangent to the curvature of this free liquid surface, I repeat, if I draw the tangent to the curvature of this free liquid surface at the point of contact with the solid boundary, so the tangent will be over here. This will be the tangent. This will be the tangent. Right? I have drawn a tangent AB to the curvature of the free liquid surface at the point of contact with the solid surface, and this is the tangent AB. Now if I check out the angle made by this tangent with the solid boundary, and that too taken inside the liquid, so that angle will be over here. This is the angle theta. And this angle theta, we say it as the angle of contact. This angle theta over here is nothing but the angle of contact. I repeat the definition of the angle of contact. The angle of contact of a liquid solid interface is defined as, it is the angle between the tangent drawn to the curvature of a free liquid surface at the point of contact with the solid surface with the solid surface taken inside the liquid. Now the meaning of taken inside the liquid is, see, what is angle of contact? Angle of contact is the angle between, this is the angle between, first entity is the tangent and second one is the solid surface. The solid surface. Angle of contact is the angle between these two parameters. One is the tangent drawn to the free liquid surface at the point of contact with the solid boundary, and second parameter is, or the second entity is the solid surface itself, the solid wall itself, right? But that angle I can say, see, tangent is over here, tangent I have drawn it by the blue colored chalk. The second is the solid surface is over here, this is the solid surface. I will say this is the solid surface, this is the solid surface. So the angle made by this tangent and the solid surface is over here as well as over here also. This also can be the angle over here. But I have highlighted the last line as taken inside the liquid region. I repeat the definition of angle of contact. Angle of contact of a liquid solid interface is the angle between the tangent drawn to the free liquid surface, the tangent drawn to the curvature of the free liquid surface at the point of contact with the solid surface, with the solid surface or the solid wall itself, taken inside the liquid. This is the angle taken into the gaseous region, whereas this angle taken is in the liquid region. This is the liquid region. So that angle has to be in the liquid region, and that's what the definition of the angle of contact is. It is the angle made by the tangent drawn to the curvature of the free liquid surface at the point of contact with the solid surface to the solid wall taken inside the liquid. That is the angle of contact theta is. This angle of contact theta is the function of it depends upon what liquid we are having into the container and what solid that container is made of. And that angle of contact is not defined for one particular liquid. For example, if I say the angle of contact for water is say 0 degree or say 0 degree or say 10 degree, that will not be the appropriate answer. The angle of contact is always defined for a pair of a material. One is of liquid and second is of glass. For example, if I take down one liquid as water and the solid material as glass, then angle of contact theta is defined for that pair of material, say that is 0 degree. But instead of glass material, if I take down it as steel or say the gold or say the silver, the angle of contact may change. So remember this thing, right? Now for water, for example, one of the example I would like to give you, the angle of contact for water to glass interface, it is 0 degree. This is what one typical example. Now in some of the cases the angle of contact may be, here it is the acute angle. The angle of contact theta over here, as I mentioned, it is 0 degree, but for water to other materials like stainless steel or say the silver, gold, so that is mostly the acute angle. But in some of the cases the angle of contact may have the value more than 90 degree also, and that case we also going to see. Now the similar figure I am going to draw. This is the solid wall of a container and this is the liquid over here, and in case the curvature of the free liquid surface in contact with the solid boundary is not going up but it's going down. So in that case the curvature will be something like this. This is the curvature, right? This is the solid surface, this is the liquid, this is the liquid. Now just follow the definition of the angle of contact. Angle of contact is the angle between the tangent drawn to the curvature of the free liquid surface at the point of contact with the solid surface to the solid wall taken inside the liquid. That last line is very important. Taken inside the liquid. Now where is the curvature? Where is the free liquid surface? This is the free liquid surface. Where is the curvature of the free liquid surface? This is the curvature of the free liquid surface. Where is the point of contact of this curvature of free liquid surface with the solid surface? Here is the point of contact, I will say. Here is the point of contact of the curvature of free liquid surface with the solid surface. Now draw the tangent to that curvature at that point. So the tangent will be somewhere over here. Something like this. Say this is AB is the tangent drawn to the curvature of free liquid surface at the point of contact with the solid boundary, and the angle made by this tangent with the solid wall, but not over here. The last line says taken inside the liquid region, so it has to be over here. So this is the angle of contact for this particular liquid to solid interface, that is the angle theta. Now this is the case when the liquid is mercury and the solid is say like glass material, right? And for that glass mercury interface, the angle of contact is an obtuse angle. So let's go ahead for the next property, that is capillarity, or so the capillary action. Now this capillarity has a very important has played a very important role in our day-to-day life. I think all of you know what is capillary tube. Capillarity. Now first of all, I would like to define the term capillary tube. Capillary tube is a very small diameter pipe, or say the tube, which has the inner diameter less than 2 mm, 2-3 mm. For example, a typical example which all of you are aware about, if you simply take down the empty refill of a pen, your writing pen, and if you open up the pen, you will find a refill into it and having somewhat ink into it. But when that ink is get finished, that tube inside it, that is the refill, will be empty. So I will say that as a capillary tube, since its inner diameter is definitely less than 3 mm, right? Maybe in the range of 1 or 2 mm. Or any of the tube which is having the inner diameter less than 2 mm, we say it as a capillary tube. Now, when you put down that capillary tube in vertical position in any of the liquid, you will find the liquid level into that capillary tube is rising up or falling down than that of the normal liquid level outside the capillary tube. How it is? This is the liquid level. This is any liquid, say water. And if you take down a glass tube, the capillary tube made up of glass, and if you put it over here in this position, now the level of liquid outside the tube is this much. But if the capillary tube is having the diameter small enough, maybe 1 mm or so less than that, you will find the level of liquid, or the liquid will start to rise up into this tube and will goes up and goes up and will settle down somewhere over here, or will become steady somewhere at this particular height. Right? This height over here is, let us say, it is h. Now it is the surprising thing that without any pump or without any external agency or force, the liquid is rising up into the capillary tube by its own. No one is lifting it up. It is happening naturally. Why does it happen? This is due to the reason of concept of surface tension, the cohesive force, the difference between the cohesive force and the adhesive force. Right? We will not go into much detail, but directly we will see the equation for the height of height of liquid column into the capillary tube. I defined the capillary tube. Capillary tube is any small diameter tube whose inner diameter is less than 2 to 3 mm, less than 3 mm. Next, capillarity is the phenomena of rise or fall of liquid level into the capillary tube when it is kept inside the liquid, partially inside the liquid and partially out of it. Okay, by the way, in some of the cases, it may also happen that this is the liquid level, and if you put down the capillary tube inside it, the level of liquid, as we have seen, the level of liquid into the capillary tube goes up, but in some cases it may goes down also. This may also possible. The level of liquid outside the tube is this much, the level of liquid inside the tube is this much. There will be depression into the capillary tube. That may happen, and all that depends upon how much is the angle of contact of that particular liquid with the solid interface. Now, we will see the expression for that. If I take down a vessel like this, with somewhat liquid inside it, and a tube of certain diameter, so smaller than 1 mm, kept vertical into that liquid, and you will find that the liquid level goes up into the tube, say up to somewhere over here, right? And this has the height h. This has the height h above the free liquid surface. Above the free liquid surface. Right? Now, if you observe that capillary rise in capillary tube very carefully, and that to the top region, you will find that the top region, the free liquid surface inside the capillary tube, the top surface of the column of the liquid into the capillary tube, it's not exactly flat but curved like this. Curved like this. And this curvature, I would like to, take it aside. I would like to draw the figure separately for that. So if I show this much part, enlarged view of this region, it will be something like this. Say this is the capillary tube, this is the capillary tube, and the rise of liquid level inside it will be something like this. Right? This will be the curvature. The curvature will be something like this. The radius of this capillary tube, the radius of this capillary tube is small r. Right? Now, remember that this is the free liquid surface. Since here it is the liquid, here it is the liquid into the, this is the liquid over here. The entirely it is filled with the liquid. Now this is the liquid, this is the gaseous state. Here there are the gases, that is the atmospheric air. So this is free liquid surface. I will say this as the free liquid surface. So if it is a free liquid surface, there will be the force due to the surface tension. This membrane will behave like a stretched membrane, and on every point, every particle onto the free liquid surface, there will be a force due to the surface tension, and that force due to the surface tension will be acting in the tangential direction. Tangential direction, I would like to draw that force vector at the point of contact of this liquid with the solid boundary of the capillary tube, and that force vector will be over here. Right? As we have seen that the force due to the surface tension acts in the tangential direction, tangential to the surface of the free liquid surface. If I extend that line of force of action over here, you can find out that this angle is nothing but the angle of contact that we have just defined. What we have defined? The angle of contact of a solid liquid interface is defined as, it is the angle made by the tangent drawn to the curvature of the free liquid surface at the point of contact with the solid surface with the solid wall taken inside the liquid, and that is what the concept of angle of contact is. And if this is the angle theta, I will assure you that this is also the angle theta, since these two are the opposite angles. Now, this is the only one force vector that I have drawn, say the force F over here. But this force F is not simply acting at one particular molecule of water which is in contact with the solid surface. There are billions of molecules of water in contact with the solid surface, and they are present onto the periphery of that inner surface of the water. And that periphery, I would like to show these molecules. If I check out this molecule, say this molecule which is in contact with the solid surface, and like that there will be number of molecules which are in contact with each other as well as with the solid surface. See, I have highlighted the circle. See, there is a rise of liquid level into the capillary tube. The curvature will be something like this. The actual point of contact of liquid with the solid and with the air is over here. And if I collect up all these molecules, I will be getting a circular ring at the top over here. And at every particle over here onto that circular ring, the force due to the surface tension will be acting, and that will be in the direction tangent to the free liquid surface. It's over here. Now, if I take down this force, I would like to resolve this force into along two components. One vertically upward, second vertically downward. So this is the component of the force F, and this is one more component of force over here. So out of which I'll show you this R over here. Actually, it doesn't matter. This R over here. Now, the force due to the surface tension is acting at that point, perhaps at every point onto the periphery of that top surface, and that too in contact with the solid surface. And the line of action of force is over here, tangent to this curved surface. If we resolve that force along two components, one vertically upward and in horizontal direction, this component will be equals to, this component will be F cos theta, whereas this component will be F sin theta. Right? Now, in the similar manner, over here also there will be forces acting, force due to the surface tension will be acting over here. The force due to the surface tension will be acting over this side also. So, the force due to the surface tension at the point of contact, I would like to highlight it as over here. This is the force. So, obviously, this angle is angle theta, the angle of contact. And if I take down the component of this force in vertically upward direction, it's over here. In the horizontal direction, it's over here. So, this component is again F cos theta. It's the same, and this is F sin theta. So, out of this, F sin theta and F sin theta are acting in a horizontal direction and that to opposite to each other. So, for every particle over here, there will be a particle onto the opposite end along that diameter. If you draw a diameter passing through that point, there will be one more particle on which the component of the force due to the surface tension will be acting exactly in the opposite direction. So, for every particle there will be opposite particle. So, that these two forces will cancel up to each other. But the force in vertical, the component of the force in vertically upward direction F cos theta, that will remain. And that force is actually acting and it is pulling the entire liquid column up in the vertically upward direction and holding the entire liquid column over here. Right? And that force is equal to weight of the liquid column over here, which is coming above the liquid surface. And if we balance up these two forces, F cos theta and the weight of the liquid into the capillary tube above the free liquid surface, then we will get the equation for H. So, what will be the force? First of all, let us get what is this force F. Force due to the surface tension. See, sigma is equal to force per unit length. Hence, I can write down force is equal to sigma into the length L. Now, in this particular case, F is equal to, in this particular case, effective length on which the force due to the surface tension is acting is over here, this entire periphery at the top. And that length of the entire periphery is nothing but what? The circumference of that particular circle, and that is equal to 2 pi r. So, this force due to the surface tension is sigma into effective length is nothing but 2 pi r. So, that is what the force is. So, this is equation number 1. The second equation, the weight of the liquid into this column will be equals to, the weight of that liquid column will be equals to the volume of that liquid into density will be the mass and into acceleration due to gravity will be the weight. So, how much is the volume of this liquid region into the capillary tube above the free liquid surface? See, we are taking down the volume, the weight of this much liquid only, not the liquid below the free liquid surface. So, its volume is equals to, this is equals to pi r square h, where pi r square is the base area of the tube into the height h will be the volume. So, volume of the water into the density of water or water the liquid into the acceleration due to gravity. So, this is equation number 2. Now, if we equate this equation, the force which is holding it up, not this equation, actually the force is F cos theta. Anyway, if I write down the weight which is get balanced, the weight is equals to, this is pi r square h into rho into g. This is what? The weight of the liquid which is acting in vertically downward direction. And who is holding it up, or say who is balancing the weight of the liquid? That is the force due to the surface tension, and that is acting in this direction, and that is equals to F cos theta. So, this is F cos of theta. So, I can write down this is pi r square h rho g, pi r square h rho g is equals to how much is F? F is sigma into 2 pi r. This is sigma into 2 pi r into cos of theta. So, out of which I think this pi will be get cancelled and 1 r and second r will be get cancelled. So, what equation we will have for the height h is h is equals to, I think twice of sigma into cos of theta. It is twice of sigma into cos of theta divided by the remaining terms, that is rho r into g. So, this is rho r g, and that is what the equation for the height of liquid level into the capillary tube. Now, the way in which we have derived the expression for the rise of liquid level into the capillary tube, onto the similar platform by applying the similar concept, we can find out the depression of liquid level into the capillary tube. Like now this may be the case of the water and the glass material, whereas instead of water, if you take down mercury as the liquid, you will find the liquid level into the capillary tube is going down. So how much is the depth, up to what depth it is going down? If you need to find out that, follow the same concept, apply the same formula, and you will get the same equation. The depth of liquid level into the capillary tube will be given by this equation. By the way, one more thing, what are the relations of H with respect to other parameters? It's clear that from this equation, if you take down one by one entity as the variable and if you keep rest of the parameters as constant, then I can say this rise of liquid level into the capillary tube is directly proportional to sigma. Sigma, if you keep all the parameter constant. So more is the surface tension, more is the rise of liquid level. The rise of liquid level is directly proportional to cosine of the angle theta, where remember that angle theta is the angle of contact of that liquid solid interface. Next, the height h is inversely proportional to the density of the liquid. Height h is inversely proportional to the radius of the capillary tube. More is the radius, less will be the height. Smaller is the radius, higher will be the height. This is the reason, instead of a capillary tube, if you take down a big pipe of a large diameter and if you put it into the water, you will find that there is no rise in the liquid level. Why it is so? The reason is more is the height, less will be the height, more is the radius of the pipe or the tube, less will be the height of capillary rise. And obviously this h is inversely proportional to the acceleration due to gravity. If you keep on reducing the acceleration due to gravity, the weight will be get reduced, this weight will be get reduced, which is acting vertically down, so this force is constant, so the liquid level will goes up. So capillary tube we are having over here, it is showing somewhat height h. The same setup, if we take it to another planet, say like the moon, if you find the height of height of liquid level into the capillary tube will be different. The reason is g is different over there, right? So I think we should stop over here. We'll continue the numericals. No, one more concept is remaining. One more concept in the capillarity is remaining that we will see into the next lecture. Thank you.